Hello everybody. I had some requests for a video of the Princess Journal, so I decided now's a good time to do it. My husband is sleeping and the house is quiet, so I shouldn't have any interruptions. I have used an antique book cover. I believe it's from the early 1900s. I forgot the date now, but I've had this cover for several months and I had some ideas for how I wanted to use it, but recently I received a request for a custom order for a Princess Journal, so I decided now is a good time to give it a try. I used some vintage lace and mother of pearl slide and made a closure. The nice thing about these closures is you can adjust it as you put things in the journal, and but you can also slide it on and off so you don't have to adjust it every time you use it. So beautiful book cover, right? I love the cover. I love the color of it. It's this kind of dark aqua color. Just beautiful. So let's go inside. I started out with this image of a very bohemian lady. She was in an antique photo, and I glued her to fabric. So the back of her is fabric, so you can see how flexible she is. And then I fussy cut her, and then I decided to decorate her a bit. Sometimes those are afterthoughts. I hadn't really planned on decorating her, but I found this piece of sari and thought it would be pretty for a pocket, and then I had to snip some off, so I decided to play with it and make a dress for her. And all I did was put some glue down on her dress and start arranging the fabric on the glue to the extent that I wanted it to lay and fluffy and kind of similar to the dress she was actually wearing. And I found a vintage button and then some beads. These beads are from an antique silk dress, and the silk was just disintegrating, so I decided to pull the beads off, and I made her a crown with some of the other beads from the dress, and used some glitter on her straps and her shoes, and some highlights on her dress. So I was pretty pleased with how she came out, and I love the way she looks against the background. I used this paper, which I think is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. I love her papers. So I used this paper, and then I also used this lady who looks like a princess, don't you think? And I just made a journal card to tuck inside. So there's plenty of space to tuck lots of things inside the front. Piece of antique lace trim, also salvaged from, I'm assuming, a dress or a blouse. And then I have this little princess. I just fell in love with this little girl. The photo of her that I purchased was pretty blurry. I fixed it up the best I could, but I think she's just perfect for something like this, and she's got such a personality. The crown, I have a stamp for the crown, and I embossed it to give it a little bit of dimension, and then I added some glitter to it, and I liked that it was a little big for her head and makes her look a little, with her dress up. I just adore this little girl, so I really enjoyed playing with her. And here's another little girl who's holding up her dress and playing princess, so I thought she looked cute with her. And then a great background of Cinderella trying on the slipper. I cut out some paper around the border and sewed Cinderella in the middle there. I like the colors together, and this looks just as good with or without the picture here. This is also, it's from a vintage cabinet, antique cabinet card. So I just tucked her inside the little girl. And then, you know, I did a little bit of stamping on some of the pages. I love this paper. I don't remember where I got it. I know it's a digital paper and I use it quite a bit. I also have this little girl who I added a little bit of glitter to make her a little bit fancier. She looks like a little princess. And I took this picture frame and I tucked her inside of it so she's peeking out of the picture frame. She's also glued to fabric, so this is what I love about gluing these to fabric. They don't bend like if they're cardstock, and they can move around, and they just give a lot more dimension to the book, and I enjoy that. I sewed the frame to the page and added some antique laces and another crown stamp that I have. I just used a stamp that I have who I thought looked a little like Cinderella and filled in the sewing from the picture frame. Copies of an antique book about Cinderella that's in a different language. I think it's Spanish, not really sure. But I thought those were fun in here. Added a little lace here, and it works out because it adds a little border to these pages. So this is also digital paper, and I used the tuck spots here. I added some vintage ribbon, which has got some sparkle in it. I'm not sure if you can really see the sparkle in the video, but it does have some gold sparkle to it. And I made these cards out of copies of book pages, the pictures in a Cinderella book. So Cinderella dancing with the prince, and Cinderella running from the castle and lost her shoes somewhere along the way. Some blank pages. All the pages are tea-dyed. I actually used green tea. I wasn't looking for anything dark. I just wanted to give it a little bit of aging. Cinderella talking to the prince. And then I have some additional antique lace here. And I used this lady who I thought looked like a princess. And I made a journal card with her. And then I put her against a background from a fairy tale book. And she looks like a princess. I used a piece of an antique postcard from 1908. And then I also added Queen Elizabeth stamp, which I thought was very appropriate. And it just tucks inside. And then you can just tuck her in there. This little girl is from a Real Photo postcard. She's also an antique. And she's also glued to fabric. The name on the little girl that was written underneath the picture on the original postcard is Jean, and it's spelled the same way I spell my name, so I think I'm attached to her mostly for that reason. I used a hidden binding, as you can see. I don't like to alter these beautiful spines on these old book covers, so I just used some fabric and made some book cloth, and I sewed these signatures to the book cloth and then glued it to the book cover. And here's another journal card that I made of another beautiful lady, another postcard that I have of a lady who I think looks like a princess, and another book page from the fairy tale book, and a piece of antique lace for a pocket. And then it's all tucked into another really beautiful piece of antique lace. Looks very ethereal to me. More Cinderella book pages here. Lots of different fairy tale-ish kind of papers and some more antique lace. Here's a Cinderella that I actually cut out of a copy of a book page from the same book. I used some texture paste on here with a one of my stencils, and then Cinderella again added to fabric, and I used some glitter to highlight her bodice, and then I put this antique lace and glued it to her dress. So the glitter kind of glimmers through the dress a bit. And here's some more of the beading from that antique dress. And then some more glitter to highlight her crown. I like the way she came out, and I added a journal card. And this lady who is trying to be a princess, I thought was fun inside of here. I just sewed around the edges. A little bit of stamping on these pages, just enough. These papers are actually photos or images from this original book. So I like she said, nodding at the reflection, washed the dishes last night. I love that. It's very Cinderella. Cinderella's granddaughter. I'm not sure. I didn't read the book, so I'm not sure if she's remembering, if her grandmother's remembering or what, but here's some additional images from the original book that I just cut out and included in here. I always like to keep some of the original pieces from the book in my journals when I can. Cinderella sitting by the fireplace. Here's Sleeping Beauty and the Prince. And I love these papers. The colors in them are wonderful. Here's a Queen in her courtyard. I'm not sure what this is from. I don't know if it's a wedding or if it's a school or a homecoming. I'm not really sure. But I thought it was just a great photograph. And I like the Queen and the princess, and I added this lady as a journal card who also looks very princess-like. And I added some tissue paper, some decorated tissue paper on the back. Some more book pages. Some more, oops. A little bit of glitter sticking there. Here's another journal card. I love this lady's picture. I've used her in other things, but in this case I embellished it with some glitter, and I made her a crown and embellished that with glitter also. I have a pocket here that's underneath this lace. This is also from the original book, Cinderella's Granddaughter, and I did some glitter on, I stamped a crown on there and then added some glitter while the ink was still wet, so it's not a ton of glitter, but it gives it a lot of sparkle, and I love the way it looks there. So we had to glitter up the princesses, and I just tucked in a couple of journal cards in there just to give it some color, and there's a stamp up here also. So there's a bunch of roses up there for the princess. And here we have Sleeping Beauty again, and a journal card of Sleeping Beauty and the Prince that I tucked inside here. And these are also from that fairy tale book. Here's another lady that I glued to fabric again, and I used the actual antique dress. The silk is here, and it's glued down onto the dress, her actual dress. But I took pieces that still had the beading attached, and I glued them on here, and then I glued some embroidered flowers for her bouquet and a little bit down her dress. I just tucked in a piece of paper for writing. I liked the color here of the roses. Also added some beading to make her headpiece there. I might actually go back and add a little more to make it more of a crown, but we'll see. I kind of like it the way it is. A little bit of a little baby doily and some flowers on this page. It's a vintage handkerchief that actually came folded this way in the package that was found. So I liked the folds in it. So I tucked in a journal card of another very regal looking lady. And then I also tucked in just some more, these are avocado dyed papers. I tucked them in here and put some crowns on, stamped some crowns on them, and just to give it just some writing paper or whatever she wants in here. But I thought that made a great little pocket, and lots of little, it gives you 3 little pockets. So I have to try to remember how to use those folds on other hankies, because I really like the way that worked out. And Cinderella again with her slipper on the stairs. And then the back of the book is another actual princess and some writing. She was part of a postcard, and I shrunk her down and scanned her for this. And another princess journal card tucked in here. And that's our princess journal. I hope you enjoyed our journey through it. I really enjoyed making this one. It was really a lot of fun. And I really hope she likes it as much as I do. Thanks for watching.